Remember, Kumar and our Lucknow team have been working over the last several days, putting this footage together, going through it frame by frame to try and dissect what that footage really contains. And what we want to do is allow those pictures to play themselves out, because there's been so much breathless coverage over the last several weeks. People really ought to have a sense of what that survey really found. And the other thing that the survey has found is markings of the Trishul, which are seen on the walls of the mosque, that led again to the Hindu side claiming that this was a temple earlier. Now these are markings. Now Gaurav, two things could happen. Either these are really deep markings which are, 400-year-old, or these could be fresh markings. How does that get established? You're a student of history yourself. What do these markings really show?
So Rahul, several markings. These are not new. These couldn't have been made recently.
How do you know that?
Point one. It's part of the basic structure there. These markings.
Look at that marking on the screen. How do we know it's not a fresh marking done recently, or how do we know it's actually 400, 500 years old?
So that only, if radiocarbon dating is done and archaeologists are brought in and other historical evidence is seen. But look at this Trishul. Now, the survey which was carried out, they haven't called it a Trishul. They've said an object which resembles a Trishul, was also visible. In that area. But Rahul, it wasn't just a Trishul like Akriti or an impression that has been found. There are several others which are traditionally found only in a temple anywhere else, in the country. Whether it's the
No, but the case with the Gyanvapi Mosque is nobody denies that there stood a temple, or any sensible person, unless they're completely in denial, because even as you walk around the mosque, you can see on one wall especially, and you've been there, I've been there, it 100% looks like a temple. There can be no doubt about it.
So that temple was demolished, and there are many historical evidences, including what is written by Babur's own secretary, that how a temple in 1669 an order was given to demolish a temple, and all of that will be proved or mentioned in a court of law. But these images, according to the Hindu side, Rahul, they tell a very different story. I mean, look at this structure which is about 4 feet in diameter, and look at this which is 9 inches by 9 inches, 63 centimeters in depth.
No, but the only thing which is very perplexing is the color. I mean, I am hardly any archaeologist, but the color of the stone at the bottom is different from the color of the stone at the top, which could potentially suggest that the stone on top came later, which is where the fountain is. But these, of course, as I said, we're just putting out as we see it the footage that's been put together by the surveyors. This needs to be established in a court of law.
Absolutely.
A judge needs to decide on it. This can't be decided in a television studio, but we're showing you
and this was
what
submerged
that survey
in water,
really shows.
All of this was submerged in water at a wazukhana. The water was drained out. Water was drained out of the wazukhana to be able to access this, and only when the water was drained out and a ladder was brought in and these municipal corporation officials were called in, workers were called in, they came in with a brush, because this was submerged in water. It had been under water for a very long time. It was cleaned up. That is when the Hindu side claimed Baba mil gaye, and they claim that this is the Swayambhu Vishweshwar or Mahadev's Shivling. This is what they've claimed. The Muslim side, Rahul, insists this is a fountain, and one part of it again to be subjected in a court of law, subject to verification in a court of law. This, they're saying, not only was built later, they found some things.
But that should be easy to establish. If you do carbon dating of the stone on top and compare that with what lies below, you should be able to tell which part of the stone is how old.
Absolutely.
This is not difficult. So this is not just about religion. This can actually be done scientifically, right? Backed by evidence.